Hey guys, it's Skybird, and we're going to be doing two things in this video. I wanted to talk about my idea for Generation 3 Bionicle, specifically focused on how Rahi would be handled, which I know is not always the topic you guys are interested in, but obviously I am a Rahi builder and I love them. I also have some examples here of Rahi that we're going to check out in a minute. One of them you've seen today if you watched any of my videos. Hi, focus. I also wanted to talk a little bit about YouTube because it did something kind of weird yesterday and it's continuing to do so today. And I'm not sure exactly what it's doing, but suffice to say, let's get right on into it. We're going to hop onto the computer first and then we'll check out the actual physical Rahi that I have in front of me. But these are essentially my idea for modern Rahi. Rahi that Lego could design today, that use parts that all exist today, with the exception of one piece because this is an old render. But with that said, this is what we have right here. And you can see I have the function arrows on these because all of these sets are not just Rahi, but they are Rahi that feature functions or do something, right? The snake one here, for example, is actually one of my favorites because it's literally like the Slinky Toy snakes. If you guys remember those old wooden snakes you could buy like at basically any truck rest stop back in the 90s or whatever. They were so cool, and I used to collect them when I was a kid. Well, I shouldn't even say collect them. I always thought they were interesting, and so I'd always get them from family members. And they were, a couple dollars at the most, right? And so I ended up with like a billion of them as a kid, but this was one of the first Rahi I ever designed. I think it's like number 2 or 3 on Discord even. So way back there, like literally nearly 200 Rahi ago. But the design really holds up, and it essentially uses pieces entirely from modern Lego, modern Bionicle, if you want to call it that, right? And I think that there is a place for something like this. Now, if you guys have been following along with my sort of G3 videos, then you know essentially each of the sets that I designed come with a Rahi of some kind, and there are also these things that I call pods, right? If we can just check this out real quick. This is the thumbnail I made for the last video that I did, and you can see here that we have the crab Rahi right in front with the modern masks that it's supposed to have, because this is for my Bionicle Generation 3 sort of proposal, right? But with that, each of the sets essentially functions as a character pack, right? These are brick-built Bionicles at the end of the day, but each set also features a Rahi. So you're not just getting a system build, you're also getting a Technic build as well, and that Technic build is related to or represents some kind of real life animal, right? Some of these are obviously more abstract than others, like the fish with the propeller tail, which was actually inspired by a Sonic 1 what is it, not Botnik, Badnik. Yeah, I don't know why I couldn't remember that. I love Sonic. But anyway, with that one out of the way though, some of these I have even more realistic variations of these because I thought about actually introducing them to Lego Ideas for like a Technic line. We have Lego's botanical line now, which I love. I am a plant lover, if you guys know that about me. But I love animals and things like that too. And so my thought was, well, animals, you could make animals that are brick built, and obviously Lego does that. They have creator sets that do this. But how cool would it be to get some Technic based animals that move, that do different things, right? When you utilize something on them. Essentially, it is a callback in a way to the original Rahi back from 2001. But also at the same time, if you can represent real life animals and use this as a learning experience for kids, what kid isn't gonna love playing with a little crab build that rolls around and scuttles its little legs? So like, I showed this in that video that I just talked about a minute ago with the crab here, though, that has this sort of scuttling movement of its legs. I'm going to try and do this on my hand here. It's a little difficult, but and I'm trying not to get my fingers in the way of the function, but it's in an incredibly fun function, and I love it. But it's a realistic function for an animal like this as well, right? So it is a sideways scuttle. The whole story about how that Rahi was developed in the first place is honestly one of my favorites too. I'll get into that maybe in a separate video, of course, because this is just built around the base of the original Rahi that I made this function for, but it is built in a way that is modern, right? Lego still makes every single piece that is featured here. There are no retired pieces in this build, which I think is smart. But with that, we also have Rahi like this little lizard here, and I really thought I would like the lime green and standard blue better than I do, because I love lime green and medium blue together. But yeah, not quite as big of a fan of this color scheme, but I think it still works and gets the point across, where you have this lizard that runs across the ground as, or just as a desk toy, just to have this as something you can just kind of like grab by the tail and roll around. And there's a billion different ways to build it, so you can give each one a little bit of unique character. I love the designs of all of this stuff. With all of that said, though, I think that, like I said, there is a place for Bionicle Rahi, even if it was outside of a Bionicle theme, right? Even if Lego didn't bring back Bionicle as we know it, having these callbacks, we're seeing stickers coming out in sets, we're seeing prints more and more often coming out in sets, which are always nice to see, but feel a little bit like a tease. I know that Jangbricks has mentioned this themselves, that I don't think they particularly care for it too much, and that's, I think, a fair criticism, because yeah, in a way, it does feel like it's a little bit of a, reaching out to the Bionicle community saying, hey, we acknowledge you, we know that you're there, but we're not going to do more than this. And that's unfortunate. Prints at the end of the day, I imagine, aren't terribly expensive for Lego to produce. Obviously, it's more expensive than a non-printed piece, but it's cool to see it. It's cool to see that Lego acknowledges it and doesn't just ignore that history of them, of that side of themselves. But at the same time, maybe in some ways it would be better. I hope to see a Bionicle Generation 3 make a return of some kind. I don't know how I would handle it if I were them. I have my own ideas, but I like certain aspects of Bionicle that someone else might not, right? We all have different views. We all came into Bionicle at different times in our life and in its run, so we're all sort of nostalgic for different eras of the theme. But that said, with YouTube, a little bit weird. So I put out a handful of videos yesterday, and honestly, had I not created a short yesterday, we would have like literally suffered. Now, I don't think we would have been back to like before November levels of views or anything like that, but apparently what has been kind of happening in the background that I've seen, and I thought I kind of understood this, but I think I'm a little bit misinformed. The way that YouTube's algorithm works is essentially, when I push out a video, it shows it to my core audience first. People that are subscribed to me, people that view my content routinely, it's going to push my videos out to them first, and then it's going to kind of test it with a wider pool of people that are, usually interested in something of a similar niche, right? And so oftentimes what I see is a large spike at the beginning, and then it sort of starts to kind of, level out a little bit. But yesterday and today both, I noticed that I would get a large core audience spike and then an immediate drop when it was pushed out to wider audiences, with some videos having a click-through rate, which is just like how many people see your thumbnail and decide to click on it, of like 1%, which is not really normal for my content. I usually hover between like 4 to 10%, somewhere in there. And so we've been doing well, and I know that, I experiment, play around with the thumbnails, of course, but what I started to learn was when I actually dug into these videos, I was seeing that they were getting recommended on other videos that has nothing to do with the content I create, right? And so I had like one video that was recommended with like an alligator wrestling video or something. Like, it's strange. Now, YouTube's gonna do that, but the same thing kind of happened today as well. I had another video that spiked in its click-through rate, like 16-17%, which again, core audience, that's pretty normal, and then immediately fell off to like 1%, and then jumped back up to 10%. And I think the reason for that is because YouTube understood to show it to my core audience first, and then when they promoted the video, instead of showing it to people who are interested in my content, they showed it to a completely different group of people that don't watch my stuff and likely have no interest in the Bionicle stuff themselves, right? Now, this is only speculation on my part, but the reason I think this, again, is because of who is being sort of recommended my content. When I look at the videos that have a good click-through rate, and not every video is going to, but it's often, suggesting my videos to people with like interests to myself, or who are watching videos that in some way pertain to what I create here, right? Videos about like maker content, stuff like that, which makes sense. I make things, even if it's Bionicle, but I don't do anything that has to do with alligator wrestling, right? So to see my videos getting kind of promoted on that kind of stuff, it's strange, but it's whatever, right? If YouTube wants to test the waters with different videos with different audiences, that's cool, that's fine. I don't mind that. But it can be a little bit disheartening, because you look at it and you go, wow, what did our channel do? Like, what did I do? And that's not to say that I'm perfect. Surely I make mistakes. Surely I push things out in incorrect ways sometimes, jump the gun. That's normal. We're all human, right? We all make mistakes. It's fine. But yeah, I at the very least thought that I understood what was kind of going on, and it's part of why I pushed out 2 shorts yesterday instead of just one. I did a short talking about the build, well, not talking, but showing you how to build this wingsuit for the Kopaka Mystica build. Which I had planned on doing earlier in the week, but ended up just getting pushed. Things got pushed back. And then I did a video that did really well, which was talking about why the Tanma mask irritates me. Although I actually love the mask itself, but the fact that you can fit a visor in it, and yet Lego was like, nah, we're not going to let you do that. We're going to put a little extra bit of plastic there and just prevent it. If you get rid of that plastic, that's the only modification you need to do to this mask. A visor fits in there perfectly, but Lego decided no. I'm not the first person to notice that either. But yeah, with all of that said, the video still did fine. You know, I'm not going to complain. Every single one of my videos got way more views than it would have gotten a month ago. And I know that a couple of the videos yesterday, the thumbnails were different because, again, I'm just kind of playing around with it, right? Trying to test the waters and see new things. But at the very least, with the Karnax video, for example, I was using a thumbnail that had been working reasonably well for me, or at least the format of it. And it did fine, you know, got like 500 views, which is good. The other thing I noticed, though, is that YouTube was not pushing any of my old content. By old, I just mean content that I've made in the last couple of weeks. And I find that really strange. A lot of videos outside of the ones that I produced yesterday got nearly no views to 0 views, which is really abnormal because even if I hadn't put out a video yesterday, my channel was averaging about 3,000 views just if I left it alone, right? Yesterday, we got 3,000 views, and that includes 2 shorts that got over 2,000 together, and the Karnax video that got another, I don't know, like 200 or 300 at the time, about 500 to 600 now. So I just found that kind of odd. But yeah, like I said, it's just something you kind of take away from it. You learn from it and think, oh, I thought I understood this, but I don't fully understand it. And that's true. YouTube is a game that is always evolving, and I do think that there are a lot of channels that unfortunately try to prey on small creators like myself and others as well, who want to kind of find their way into YouTube, break their way into YouTube, but don't just really know how. And to a degree, I do think that a lot of these channels do put out good information, but oftentimes they kind of tinge it with a lot of misinformation, incorrect information, just lie in general, or contradict themselves. You watch one video that tells you to do one thing, watch another that tells you to do completely the opposite, and both can't be true, right? At the end of the day, your niche is going to matter. This isn't a video about YouTube strategy or anything like that, but I just found it a little bit odd. So I wanted to go ahead and mention it. If you guys did stick around, though, for the video, yeah, make sure that you are subscribed and like and comment, do all the fancy algorithm stuff. But if you really want to help out, a share of any of my content, I think would be fantastic. This probably isn't the most entertaining video to share, but I just produced a video about some bootleg stuff. A lot of today's content has honestly been computer focused, and that has been intentional. I've been trying to push out a little more today just to kind of see what direction things are going in, and so far they're doing well, so I'm very happy with it. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So as always, Discord and Instagram can be found in the description below, and I'll see you all in the next one. Take care.